There it is. We are live on the internet. Welcome, internet. This is the Thursday, October 27th meeting of the Backdrop CMS marketing outreach group.
In flux.
In a little transition to definition, but that's generally in the right corners. We'll start off. We do this all the time, and I'm a little unfamiliar with the introduction, so I'll just go into. We usually introduce ourselves at the beginning of the meetings. My name is Luke McCormick. I'm a web project manager in San Ramon, California, and I'm looking forward to this. Why don't we toss it over to Greg?
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, too busy with life. I'm just trying to catch up with everything. Nothing important to mention. I'll go to Martin.
I'm Martin in the United Kingdom. I'm a web developer. I'm working on modules and also working on some sites as well. So enjoying that. Over to Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. I'm really happy with our recent Backdrop Live last weekend. Things went well, and excited about the changes we have in store or are talking about for the marketing or the outreach meeting. And that's it, Jen. I think we've already everybody's introduced themselves but you. So if you want to go.
Sure. Jen Lampton, joining from Oakland, California. That's it.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and I have proposed, we talked briefly about this before the meeting started, Jen, while you were out of the room. I think that we should have the focus of today's meeting should be settling. We've been talking about this switch, creating a marketing committee that's going to be structured a little bit differently. And what we'll be talking about today, I think, is exactly how it's different. And then maybe replacing and having that meet separately and replacing this time slot with a community meeting that is a little bit more like my vision, although we still haven't talked a lot about this. Others might see it a little different. I'm envisioning it a little bit like a Backdrop Live session that is recorded, like our current outreach meetings are, and available on YouTube. And so that we're getting more recorded content out. It's a little more structured. I think I'm envisioning it, like the weekly news, a short segment at the beginning, update folks on what's happening in the community, and then having sort of pre-selected topics. So I'd like to get feedback, or, I think we just need to settle and make sure we're all on the same page of those things. And, presumably in 2 weeks from now, we'll be having our first Backdrop community meeting. And, I guess we're calling them the Backdrop community meetings for now, but I think we can come up with something better down the road. But anyways, does anybody have any other thoughts? Is there any other pressing stuff that just needs to be done today at this meeting? Okay. Well, why don't we start with the marketing committee part? It might be the least clear in everybody's minds what that is and how it's different. Luke just turned off his camera. I don't know if that's a bad thing. Luke, I think, is interested in managing that or being the chairperson.
Yeah. I'm just coincidentally having camera problems that I don't understand right now, but it's not an intentional thing.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and make a short statement and then sort of turn it over to Luke, and we can talk about my own thoughts were just that I feel like the current outreach meeting has been too sort of chat orientated and just talking about ideas and lacking kind of the structure needed to do follow through. So I'd hoped that the new marketing committee can be structured a little bit differently and focused more on action. And I think the main thing is having sort of a consistent membership that when people come to marketing meetings, they come to do work, not just to talk about ideas and then leave them for other people. that the marketing committee should be people that are ready to work on the things and get them done. That's my thought. I'm open to what other people think, but the main thing is to make. I'd like to see it be more action and more follow through orientated. Luke, do you want to talk a little bit? Do you have a vision yourself of how you see the marketing committee working or being different than our outreach?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, you touched on some of it, and by the way, all I'm doing here is I got a graduate degree in marketing, so I was taught some stuff. So I just want to like share some of those things that kind of get through. None of this is secret rocket science, but it's just that out there. So I would say in terms of actionable stuff to fit with your vision, we have to start measuring something, because otherwise you don't know you don't know what the definition of done is. When you're marketing, you're always trying to change some number, usually increase some number, usually increase some sort of conversion or result or action. I mean, we have vague ideas of what those are, but I think in terms of having useful initiatives for this, we should have targets. We'd like to do this because we're trying to improve this metric, and our goal, our hope, our desires is to make it look like that, and then probably some time box. In 3 months, we'd like to increase the number of these to this. That just something where we can kind of know if we're doing it along the way. The other thing that I would throw out that I brought up in the session in Backdrop Live is the importance of segmentation. The importance of realizing that a product like ours has a very broad reach, and within that reach there's lots of things that you need, and if you try to do them all, you probably won't do any of them very well. So my suggestion is to try to narrow that as much as it makes sense. Like try to find some group that passes some definition of low-hanging fruit, that we can be like, okay, rather than trying to do everything for everybody all the time, we've identified a certain group of people, and we're going to take care of them now because we think that'll have some effects. And we've talked about which these groups are and some of the things they might need and other things. I don't know if it's premature to throw out any of that at this point, but those are kind of the, if I'm gonna have two things written on my gravestone, one's gonna be segmented and the other is measurable.
Good. I agree on both of those points. I want to throw out that back in January when we had that big forum discussion, one of the things that we talked about was personas and having a better, and I think that overlaps with segmentation. I know that Matthias was very interested in helping with personas, developing personas for any kind of outreach or marketing. Just something to keep in mind. I don't know where exactly that fits in, but
Does that correlate to that old issue? But just remember the word pillars or whatever we're calling it for a website as well, where we have sections like for the developer, for the site owner, for whatever. Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
All right, cool.
I think Luke, what you just said about metrics and goals, I agree with. I think, and again, I found that hard in our old structure to sort of do because things were loose. And I'd like to be clear. I take a lot of responsibility as somebody who facilitated a lot of outreach meetings. Part of what I think would make the meetings more effective is just better facilitation, sort of holding people on task. I mean, part of what I think I'd like to see the marketing committee do is have some real goals and an agenda, and then have sort of a new business, old business format, right? Where you sort where I feel like the outreach meetings were often all new business, right? We were never, or never is way too strong a word. We didn't spend enough time following up on things. I think if we say we're going to do a blog post, if part of our marketing outreach is to do a blog post once a month, we need to focus on that and make it happen. And if it isn't happening, then we got to acknowledge that, well, apparently that's not something we can do right now. And find something we can, or figure out why it isn't happening, right? Like, okay, we set this as a priority. It's not happening. Why not? What can we do to make that happen? Anyways, so that's just some random thoughts. But things like metrics, I've been looking at our Google Analytics, and traffic on our website has went up very minimally on backdrop.org over the last even 4 years. I mean, maybe 5 or 10%. And that's an interesting, one could argue, and I'm not sure this is the right answer, and that's what this committee could decide. But one could argue that our website is one of our most valuable marketing tools. And if we're not seeing increases in traffic there, that's a problem. Yeah. And we could be talking about how do we solve that problem? How do we
and traffic is a metric.
Exactly. It's very measurable, right? That's what I like about it.
Downloads are metric. Although I guess do we know how many people clone it from GitHub, or does that matter?
GitHub has a fork, and it tells you how many forks there are, and also star, so sort of like making it a favorite or a starred project. I can.
But you wouldn't know if somebody cloned it.
Yeah. So I think it has a list of all the forks that.
Yeah, that's different from cloning, though. I think you can.
Oh, right.
You can clone it without it becoming a fork.
Yeah.
No, not that cloning would be a good metric, right? Like I will sometimes clone it 20 times in one day. So that wouldn't necessarily tell you anything.
Right.
I
mean, paying attention to our installs as a metric, I'm not sure what to do with that data, but it might be worth just reminding people every week what that metric is.
Okay, but so give an example though of the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that's measurable. I would envision, for example, new things that are created just to be measured, that are created just to do things, like a form. As part of the initiative, I can imagine, a survey, and create it with the idea that, having people fill out the survey, which is a measurable thing that could be really valuable. And the surveys don't. I'm a little worried by I mean like form. So it doesn't have to be like, how are you feeling about this? It could be like, are you willing to pay to have a module ported, or that sort of thing, like trying
the survey. When you mentioned the word survey, it sort of like brings to mind like sending out an email and asking people to fill the survey. Whereas I think that during Backdrop Live, we also mentioned something about a feedback form.
Right. So the survey is probably a portion, so form might be better. Just is something we can count, and something that has an output that moves us towards some defined goal.
Sure. So I think we're starting to talk about the agenda for this meeting. It seems to me that the first step is the structure. How is it different than this meeting? And I'd like to just list those things. How is it? It has a designated chairperson. That's already a difference.
Yeah, I think the meeting isn't the product in the case of the marketing thing. That there's artifacts that are the product, and meetings such as they are meant to improve the artifacts. which
Right.
could be,
which means we can't do the artifacts until we know what the meeting looks like, until we have a meeting scheduled. Like, I guess what I'm getting at, Luke, is if we don't know when the next meeting is, we're never going to get anything done. So we're not going to produce any artifacts. So the first task is to set the meeting and to see who's going to be there.
all right. And I propose as a topic for that meeting, what are the artifacts? Like it's a chicken and egg thing, right? But yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, okay. I'm concerned about that because I think the whole point of having a marketing committee over an outreach meeting is that it will behave differently. And if we don't know how it's going to be different, we haven't really done anything. So that's what I'm just getting at right now. What is different about this? It has a chair. For example, my recommendation was that there are members. You sign up to the marketing committee. You don't just show up one week, spend 20 minutes talking about ideas, and then never come again. Right? Does that make sense to people?
Maybe. I mean, I proposed what I thought was a distinction. You just sort of blew it off. I said that it's artifact focused rather than time focused. So
Sure.
so I mean the presence of a meeting to help with these things.
Okay.
Meetings could be skipped. Meetings could be doubled. Like it's not really about the meeting. Meetings will presumably happen, but that's not the goal. There are goals.
What if the meeting had like a beginning section that would be sort of an update like the current outreach meetings do, but then at some point it became a working meeting where it's like, okay, we've talked about the two things that we need to do, let's just go do them right now, and then we could use that time to get the work done rather than just talk about the work that we have to be done. Because I'm worried that if we just add another meeting, or it would be essentially moving the meeting we have now, and everyone would come and have ideas, and we wouldn't do any of the work. So rather than having like an hour-long meeting like we currently do, make it like half an hour, and it'd be like, okay, we're turning off the camera, and now like, you know, Jen's gonna go work on the newsletter, and Tim's gonna go work on the website, and whatever we decided to do in the first half hour, we actually make some progress on in the second half hour. And then at our next meeting, we can come back and be like, Jen, did you fix the newsletter? No. Okay, well, you should do that now and make sure you get that done. Because I do carve out like time for these meetings in my schedule, but then it's really hard to like carve out more time for the things you've already talked about. And so if we could somehow leverage the working group sort of section of that meeting, you'd have the people there you needed to maybe to be able to get questions from, and then you'd also be able to get some work done in that time. And maybe that means the meeting ends up needing to be longer than an hour, but I think we should just start off with the hour format and save some of the time for actually doing the work.
Yeah. Well, I would think it's not clear. It's not clear to me that actually any of it has to be broadcast, but that's a decision that can be made elsewise. But like for example, the office hours can feel a little bit like working meetings sometimes. You know, when I've been in this, you can be like, oh, let's dive in, let's fix this. Or sprints is another. Maybe sprints is a good model. Maybe we could build a marketing plan the same way we build software, and do sprints and epics and user stories and the whole Scrum 9 yards, or whatever pieces of that make sense.
Sure.
I have a friend who published a book called Agile Marketing, so I should probably look at it.
I think the recording these meetings is an important decision to make, and you just brought it up, Luke, and I agree. I'm not sure that they need to be recorded, or if they are recorded, maybe they're not. I mean, I think that they're different. I'm not against recording them, but I am concerned about us putting a lot. You know, we're gonna have this new community meeting which is recorded, so we're just creating more content, and some of it just I don't think is that valuable. And this is meant to be a membership meeting, right? It's supposed to be focused on the people who are there.
Yeah.
So I think recording it is less important. And I would be fine to not record it. I'm sure some people will complain about that, but
I like the idea of the output being public. I mean the artifacts, should be fully visible to everybody that wants to see them, and we can come to it. It's no one's excluded from it.
Yeah, the summary in the beginning, as Jen said, like first 15 or whatever, summarize what was done in the previous meeting and the outcomes or the plans for this one, and then turn the camera or the recording off, or keep streaming if people want to join. But yeah, go away and do things.
Yeah.
And to be clear, when I talk about membership, I don't necessarily mean that you have to be a member to participate or to come to a meeting, but that I don't know. I'm not saying that they should be closed, but I think they should be focused on the members. If other people want to kind of watch or come and visit, listen in, or people might be invited for certain topics. That's all legit. I mean, I guess that's up to them. The biggest thing is I want people to say I'm a member of the marketing committee, not just show up once in a while. And does it meet every other week still, or does it meet in a different time frame? Anybody have thoughts?
I mean, why don't we throw out every other week as like as an opening bid, but let it change those, like because that's the meetings aren't the point. so that you may need more of them, you may need fewer of them. There may be ad hoc things.
Maybe the last agenda item for that meeting should be like,
When's the next one?
decide if we need to have another meeting in less than 2 weeks or something.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Okay. Well, I have thrown out the suggestion that it meet at a different time than these two meetings, and that may be the reason for that. And we can, maybe it's not a good one, was to make somewhat of a clear break. I'm afraid that if we just like meet an hour earlier, that all the same people come expecting the same thing. But there are other ways of fixing that problem. If an hour before this meeting is a good time, we can get around that.
Yeah, I'll just throw out shooting from the hip. I'd rather have it earlier in the week, so that the Thursday meetings are like a nice, like, okay, let's do something now, and have a few days, and we can brag about it on Thursday, or ask for help, or move some pieces, or get feedback. It seems like a different day than Thursday would make
I
sense.
think it should be our goal to get some people on this committee that aren't in all the other meetings. Like every time, I hate to create new meetings that are just the same people going to more meetings.
Yeah.
And almost inevitably, it's going to start out that way. But I think we could make a very deliberate call to try to recruit some new people to this marketing committee that aren't necessarily the regulars that come to the Thursday meetings. There should be some overlap. That's good, but does that? So, I mean, I think like who wants to be on the committee is an important thing. And right now my fear is that it's the five of us meeting at a different time. Well, except for, the one or two people regulars that we have that are not here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think it would be good if we get people that want to like do the work but not talk about the work. They could come to that meeting and not the weekly meeting, and then that way it would save them an hour a week. And then in the weekly meeting we can include updates from that meeting, but we'll also do other stuff that they maybe don't care about.
Yeah. I mean, if the artifacts are robust enough, you shouldn't feel as compelled to anyone other than me to actually go to the meeting, because you should feel like you could interact with the artifacts and contribute, know what's going on, feel plugged in.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no reason a committee like this couldn't get most of its work done asynchronously, as long as that there are opportunities to make decisions, right, that need to be made. So, I mean, I think we're going to need some. So, Luke, you can tell me if you feel differently, but I think like that early. I think there should be some early meetings that are about what what are the segments, what are the segments and where do we want to put our focus? What
Yeah.
are the metrics that we're most interested in and what are some of our goals?
Yep.
And, these are things that are probably going to be best done in meetings, but once those things have been set, it should be,
And I mean, that's one of the advantages of meetings is to refine those sort of founding principles until they work.
okay. Do we want to pick a first meeting date?
How about Tuesdays at 4:00 Pacific time?
So, Jen, I believe that is the time of our current meeting with SFO, so we could just do the alternate.
Oh,
But that's every other week, so,
Wait, did he
Okay.
say? I thought he said 4 o'clock.
oh, he did say, what did you say? Oh, Pacific? Or-
I said 4:00 Pacific, but
Yeah.
but that was just a opening. I just said it would be convenient for me.
No, yeah,
So-
okay, yeah, you're right. That is absolutely not the time that I was thinking. I did the math,
All right.
sorry.
Yeah. Is 1:00 the time that tends to work with our?
I think they're noon for
worldwide
you.
Constituency.
Yeah, it's 12 to 1.
12
It's 12 to 1 is a
anyone?
time slot that Jen and I have been using already, so, but I'm
Okay.
not locked into that at all, so.
No, that's actually fine too.
I would be in favor of either 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. 1 p.m. feels nicer for those of us who are in the Conservancy meeting because then you've got like 2 hours blocked off for backdrop sort of together. But 4 also works. So if we think we would get more people at a different time of day, because doing a different time of day than the Thursday meeting might be good.
Right.
I'm okay with that too.
I love the idea of a different time of day to get different people. I'm not sure that 4:00 does it though, right? Because it certainly doesn't help our European folks. It's
Do you
later
want to
for
do
them.
it earlier? Do you like
You know,
Mhm.
if we want to get some of our Europeans involved, which we do have, some of them are very interested in this topic.
Yeah.
I think earlier is better. So,
To be honest, if we're trying to maximize, my mini vision of have it be artifact driven, we could have the time move around. Because theoretically, you shouldn't be joining the meetings if you haven't read the document. That should be driven from that, and that's the primary communications. Is that, the actually participating in live meetings is the icing, but the cake is understanding the plans, contributing to them, acting on them.
okay. Do you have a specific proposal on that?
Well, on which part?
On having them
Well-
move around?
Yeah, sure. Well,
I think
go ahead.
having the meetings move around is really hard for people to schedule around. Like that, most of our other meetings don't move around, and so trying to figure out like, oh well, which week is it okay for me to schedule a meeting in this time slot, and which week do I have to reserve that for backdrop gets really tricky.
Okay.
But if we're gonna have this meeting once every 2 weeks and occasionally more when needed, I feel like we could use those occasionally more when needed meetings to be like, okay, well, who are the people we really needed this meeting and what is the best time for them? And that way we've got the recurring meeting at the same time all the time to schedule around. And then as needed, you can say like, okay, well, this week, let's look at everyone's calendars and see what works for this meeting on events or whatever that one meeting is.
I'm
All in
gonna,
favor, say aye. Yeah, that sounds
Sure.
perfect.
I'm gonna even, I'm gonna try to yes and that and say, in my fantasy world, I think that, we might get 6 people on the marketing committee and have 3 two-person working groups that could meet on their own. And maybe the marketing committee meets once a month and the little working groups meet more frequently. Because I think more work gets done in smaller groups, right? And
Yeah.
it's hard to get, so the 6 people maybe get together less often to talk about the overall picture, but that pairs of people get together at times that are convenient for them and focus on the details. And that might be a good model for this committee.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Yeah, and I could easily see, valuable drop-ins. You know, we have a friend from Hong Kong who's kind of showed up recently and been
Sure.
contributing stuff. So it's like, well, okay, maybe we'll do something convenient for Hong Kong to get over some particular piece.
Yeah.
I'm just repeating what Jen said before, that,
Okay.
a regular meeting to set the meter, and then
Okay.
So 9 a.m. in
ad hoc things,
California
maybe whatever.
is 6 p.m. in Europe. And the later you go in the day, the worse it gets for them.
Yeah.
So the question is 9 a.m. workable for us? And because I think later than 6 is really hard if we want people from Europe. And the question is, do we go earlier than 9 a.m. here?
I can do 9 a.m. Pacific, or earlier than that, and I'll be saying all sorts of stupid stuff. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, same.
So
Now, fortunately, I have 2 more hours than you guys do, but it's still a push for me. But I'm willing to do it, and maybe I'm not at every meeting, but that's okay. That might be a good thing. So
yeah,
especially if we get new people, right? I'd rather see somebody new that can come to that time slot than make it convenient for me when I'm already going to so many meetings.
Yeah.
So
all right. So
9 a.m.
yeah,
Pacific. Well, I suppose we should determine this. Our practice of late has been to set these based on
Eastern.
UTC time, so they shift
All right.
with daylight savings, which part of that is for our Europeans, so that it switches less often for them. So with that in mind, do we want to just convert 9 p.m. or 9 a.m., not 9 p.m., 9 a.m., right?
All right. Well, what does that translate to before and after daylight savings time?
It'll be 8 a.m. during the winter and 9
Yeah.
during
Well,
the
let's set it for
9,
9. Let's set it for
10
10
a.m.
now,
Okay.
Yeah.
which it'll switch to 9 then like a week, won't it, or 2 weeks?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so let's go with 10 a.m. Pacific, but convert that to UTC time. Can anybody do that on the fly? I can do it pretty quick here, I
I
think.
can Google. It's 5 p.m. Universal Coordinated Time.
Wouldn't that be 1700 UTC then? They don't use AM and PM in that, do they?
Well, I think you can do both in UTC, but you bet 1700, sure. No, wait, not 1700. Or is
Are
it?
they wrong? No.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, that could be. Yeah. I'm thinking it's only a 6-hour difference for me, but 10 is 11. Yeah, that actually works.
Does 1700 sound right to you, Greg? Is that how you say it?
I'll have to convert that to Melbourne time.
Well, no,
And also,
I just meant terminology. Like, do you say AM and PM, or do you use a 24-hour clock usually?
they don't use military hours in Australia, but we understand them in Greece. So it's like, remember, 2 countries. So yeah, they use AM PM here, but yeah.
Okay, it is. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I created a Google Calendar event, which I know we don't like because it's not open source. But starting next Tuesday, and I put it on the Backdrop Meetings calendar. So that would be starting November 1st. But we didn't talk about a start date, so I just wanted to see if that's what we wanted.
Sure.
Now, the ironic thing is I'm actually busy at that time on November 1st. So
We could push it a week.
All right.
What do you think? Or we could skip the first meeting.
Yeah, let's see. I might be a disaster coming up because I actually have a trip coming up. Let's see, is that it's gonna affect one of them. Let me pull up my calendar here and see what things look like. Where are we? Oh, no, actually, November 1st is fine. Never mind. Oh, look, I already have a backdrop. No, I don't. I mean, I do, but it's not this one.
Isn't that your, the
My
time
own
you set
reminder,
aside?
because that's when I had planned to like do some backdrop stuff. So it just happened to say backdrop on my calendar.
Great. Okay, well.
November
We used
2nd,
up the whole meeting and we never got to the community meeting part. But I think we got probably the questions answered we needed to, don't you think, Luke?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you should think about, if you could think about the agenda for that first meeting, like what questions, what is the, ideal outcome for that first meeting, which may not, may not be too much, but we're going to start talking about artifacts or segments. Segment seems like a really good place to start.
Yeah, I'll have to ponder. You know what? I'll probably do the second meeting. I'm gonna be in Key West.
Oh, okay.
I think I can probably do it. I'll
Well,
invite
you could
Jimmy
give
Buffett.
us, you could give us homework for the second one.
I'll invite Jimmy Buffett to come to the meeting. And we'll see.
Well, how about this, so we take the last 3 minutes and do all the business on the community meeting. I sort of described my vision of it at the beginning of the meeting. Did that make sense? Did anybody see it much different than that? So I think we should have a defined topic each week, and guess, right? Invite people that specific to whatever topic we're talking about. Run it largely like a backdrop live segment, except that I would start with news, get a report from the marketing committee, do a short, 2-minute report, nothing major, do the like contrib updates and, even mention things going on in core. I'd like this to be something, kind of like a bi-weekly. Again, people could listen to this or watch it like a bi-weekly podcast, sort of.
I love the idea of guests. I mean, that sounds like something that the marketing people could do. Is it like if you could have people that aren't usually here come in and give their reactions, a little focus group type things? That
Well,
sounds hugely valuable.
Ideas we've talked about are, we could do, I think doing case studies, having people come in and talk about recent sites they've done. And we might, maybe we could, in any given week, have 2 or 3 people instead of 1 20-minute or 45-minute case study, maybe 3 20-minute case studies, as 1 week. And then another week we might talk about, recent contrib modules or, the e-commerce for backdrop and what the options are. Or Greg's thing about your workflow. You were trying to share your scripts, which I think would be really valuable to parts of the community. And it would be great to get that conversation recorded. And that would be a great topic 1 week. And again, we might kick it off with Greg, but then open up the discussion and have other people share what kind of tools they use to make their contribution easier. So if it sounds like we have some general agreement there, I would just suggest that we then think about, presumably that starts in 2 weeks. So should we pick a kickoff topic? Something kick-offer-ish?
A topic for discussion or
Yeah,
something to work on?
sort of the discussion topic for this first community meeting.
We could do the CiviCRM stuff since that's imminent.
Yeah, I like it.
And
Actually, it serves a couple of purposes. It kind of gives us a target to have it operational. I love it because it's a community aspect, like it's informing people what's happening in the community, but it also has here's a tool you could be using. People can take what we're doing and use it, decide whether or not it's applicable to their own work or their own websites. So yeah, we should make sure that bug folder is there and maybe somebody else even. So bug folder can be there to talk about our specific, Robert, our specific situation, and then maybe make sure that Laren or Herb are there to help supplement that with just broader CiviCRM knowledge. I mean, we wouldn't, I think we'd be fine without them, but it would be a good chance for somebody with more CVCRM experience to come. So let's just do that. So, well, I think we keep the topic general CVCRM, but a portion of the discussion is what we're doing with backdrop.org, and then a portion is just CVCRM in general. So. Okay. I'd like for us, not today, but in the future, to have maybe 2 or 3 meetings planned out. So we're scheduling them 2 or 3 weeks out. So people are starting to show up for the dev meeting. We're just ending the outreach meeting. Why don't we go ahead and sign off, say goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, Internet.
I'm going to hit